Okay.
Very good.
That's odd, eh?
Very good.
Hello? Very good. Hello?
Right, Joanne's doing his thing. It'll record as it goes. I'm not sure what our introduction is going to be. I'm not sure what this thing's going to be called. But getting a chance to sit down with Wayde Kennedy and Peter Swanepoel, and these are two mates of mine from a couple of years back. I've known Wayde a bit longer than Peter. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but they called me in for a coffee the other day to discuss an idea, and it got me thinking and imagining potential out of the activity that's really cool. So welcome to it, guys. Wayde, Peter, how's it?
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Steve. How's it going?
Nice to sit and chat with you. So a new experience in studio. We're going to get our voices cleaned up as well. But I got some questions for you, and I'm going to try and lead you through this conversation about what you're doing, why you're doing it, where it's going to go, all the aspects that are going to help us define this objective a little bit more. So I'm going to start this, rewinding a little bit back and say, what was the origin of this 999 marathon idea? Who said it out loud first?
I don't think we're ever going to know, thankfully. So this can be an ongoing theme about, or Pete arguing with me about my idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to start a fight here, but although I am bigger than Wayde.
Most people are. Most people are.
Easy there.
I'm pretty sure.
It's not what she said.
I'm pretty sure it was my idea. At one stage I was following, I don't know, people might know that Iron Cowboy guy that did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states and so on.
Yes.
And I thought, what could I do that would be just as epic in the South African context? And the initial idea was same as his, an Ironman in every province, but yeah, that's logistically quite a challenge, and physically as well. And then I sort of whittled it down to a marathon. And yeah, but I think, yeah, it's fine that we have disagreement, but
when he says I whittled it down to a marathon, what he really means is, and Wayde came up with a great idea of rather doing a marathon.
Yeah, Wayde might have been scared of the swimming and then wanted to make it just running, and that's fine as well. But yeah, it is a kind of.
I mean,
crazy
really,
idea.
we've done a whole bunch of stupid stuff together, and we thought we'd try and find something else that was just as stupid, but also like a really cool, fun adventure and opportunity to explore the country and see some cool things and create some new experiences.
So the next question, when did it go from maybe one day to, okay, we're doing this? Has it got there yet?
I mean, the fact that we're sitting here in the studio with headphones on and talking about it properly means that I think we're pretty much there. And I think it happened pretty recently, actually. Eh? I mean,
yeah,
we have been talking about it for a long time, but we haven't, until now, made the decision that we're actually just going to screw it, let's just do it.
So it was only a week ago you chatted to me. Literally a week ago you said, let's have a coffee, and we got this idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the initial germination of the idea was probably, I'm trying to think when one of us came up with it initially, and I think it must have been 2020, 2021, something like that, so some years ago. But yeah, it sort of just came up again recently. I'm not sure why it popped into my head recently again, but
you know what?
yeah.
Like, I think I actually do know the answer to that question genuinely. So I turned 50 this year, and I think lots of people go out and buy Harley Davidsons and fancy sports cars and stuff to as a midlife thing or a landmark thing or something. And I started thinking,
if you don't have money, then you got to do something else.
Exactly. Then you buy running shoes. And the idea was to just try and do some cool, more experiential stuff this year specifically. Some of them maybe on a slightly smaller scale, getting people to donate 50 pairs of running shoes or 50 blankets for homeless people or something. And then maybe it turned a little bit more kind of selfish and wanted to do some cool stuff for myself as well. And I think maybe one of us said, "Joe, let's just actually do that thing. We've been speaking about it for such a long time. It's never going to be easier than it is now." And then Pete actually said, "Here's a 2-week period or a 3-week period where I do have time." And okay, let's do it then.
So you could have done one big run in one city. Why the whole country?
Lots of people have done one big run in one city. Hey,
Yeah.
everybody's done that. Everybody's done comrades,
Except
haven't they?
me, I've never done one big run. You'll be surprised how few people have done one big run. So you guys have obviously done a few one big runs. You've done a few. I'm going to ask you some questions later about some of your experiences, but yeah, their thought process around the guideline of 9 marathons, 9 provinces, 9 days.
It just fits nicely, you know. For us to go and do a marathon or an ultra or a comrades, or for Pete to go and do another Ironman or something, you know, it is big and it is difficult and it is challenging, but it's not really. I don't think it's super
unique.
challenging. It's not unique. It's not actually that exciting anymore. And this ticks all those boxes. It is more challenging. The logistics behind it are bigger. The physical challenge, the mental challenge is bigger, and it's real, and it's stuff that we're going to have to overcome as we go along. And I think the opportunity for new experiences and new memories and stuff is greater here than it would be with one big run in one big city.
So have either of you done something like this before, or is this your first full leap into the unknown?
I haven't done a lot of stage racing of any kind. I've done a lot of like big one-day events and so on, and the odd multi-day event, but nothing running this much. But just to jump back quickly, one of the reasons for the 9 thing as well is I'm pretty sure that this is that no one's done this before, which I think is really cool, to be able to do something that literally no one else in the world or no one else in South Africa has done before. To be the first would be quite cool.
So one of your focus points is being the first in something.
Yeah,
treading new territory.
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, just once we start nailing down the precise route and so on, it'll become clear that the places where we're running in are sort of, really in the middle of nowhere. And there's something quite cool about that, doing something so epic in the middle of nowhere where not many people in South Africa have been, really. Even though it may not be very exotic, they are beautiful, beautiful places in the middle of nowhere in South Africa.
And I think that's part of the motivation here, because you mentioned a little bit of a history tour. It could be a unique road, could be a dirt road you end up running on. Is it going to be a 21 kilometer out, 21 kilometer back in the car? What's sort of thought process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the whole adventure is that we want to have some planning and some guidelines, because without those, it's going to be even more difficult than it would be. But a big part of it is also the adventure and the unknown. So we're going to be there, and we think this road is going to be okay, but we haven't seen it before. We don't actually know. Maybe it's full of terrible, terrible potholes and cows that are in the way and bad people on the side of the road or whatever. And that's part of the adventure and the stuff that we'll encounter and overcome, for sure.
Yeah. Johan, just quickly, I'm going to ask the two of them to sit equidistant from the mic. So make sure this is Wade's voice coming across louder.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Yeah, I'll lean in.
You don't have to, you can lean in the same way, or you could...
Gives me an opportunity to come and fetch my phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is everyone...
Is that yours? Okay.
Is everyone
He edits these out, don't worry.
Okay.
silent, maybe?
Yeah, phone's on silence. Yeah.
No one ever calls me, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Sure.
Quite nice, except that stripper.
You
I
wish.
hope one day when I've got enough money.
He'll call you, Steve. He'll call you.
Okay, back into the questions. You ready?
Yeah, ready for it.
So running 9 marathons in 9 days is already next level. Add travel between the provinces and you're into superhero territory. Let's talk training. How are you preparing your bodies and minds for this, or are you preparing? Silence.
Yeah, I was waiting for Pete to
Okay,
jump in.
I will jump in, but you go ahead first. I think you have more to say, maybe.
It's a marathon. It's far, but it's multi-days as well. And I think as much as there are going to be physical issues that come up, I mean, we're going to get sore, we're going to get blisters, we're going to be chafed. Nutrition and hydration is going to be a big deal, of course. But I think the biggest challenge is going to be a mental one, knowing that all those physical things are happening, but it actually doesn't matter. You just got to keep going anyway. There's also only so much training that you can do. You can do this many kilometers a week or this many hours on the road. Just because the event that you're doing is 9 times longer doesn't mean you need to do 9 times more training. So trying to find the balance between preparing physically, preparing mentally, but also not overdoing it. You'd rather be, there's an old saying in endurance sports, which I'm sure you know, is that you'd rather be 10% undertrained than 1% overtrained.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely erring on that side of things.
Pete's successful in the 1% undertrained at the moment, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I've been focusing on a particular cycle race for this whole year, basically. So I'm very thin on the running mileage. And it's going to have to, once this is nailed down a bit more, the total focus is going to have to be running. And then also what concerns me most is, and we've chatted about this a lot, is sort of injury proofing, because overuse injuries are going to be what it's all about in terms of the body breaking down over that period of time. So hoping to get that going a bit more. A lot of time on the feet. It's not going to be about speed. You're going to have the whole day to complete each distance each day. And so we're not going to have to be fast runners, but we are going to have to be able to go all day long.
So talking about injuries and breakdowns and stuff, Pete and I did quite a cool event a long time ago where we took the beer mile concept and expanded that into a beer marathon.
I'm going to lead you into that conversation.
Let me just preempt that. So I know that it's possible to run a marathon with a pram, but what I've not been able to find is a pram that is big enough to fit Pete in there. So that injury prevention, I think, is going to be quite important.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial.
So talking about the injury prevention and things like that, you're talking about the recovery plan between sessions. What do you imagine that looking like? Apart from a pram
on the day, during the event itself.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be, we're going to have to iron out the minor details, but South Africans love starting their marathons and their running races at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. We won't be doing that. We'll start a bit later. It's going to be the middle of winter, so we'll probably
Wayde takes a look sideways at you.
It's going to be winter and cold and dark, but I mean, as I said, we can work it out. Look, the earlier we start, the earlier we'll finish. And I think, once we finish, we immediately need to get into a vehicle and drive. We have someone who's going to drive us, which is very helpful. And then we'll have to travel to the next place. Travel times, we've worked out broadly. It's not, the longest one is going to be sort of a 7-8 hour drive, which is not great, but which is what we're going to have to do. And the rest of them are sort of between an hour and 3.5 hours. So during that time, we'll be in the vehicle, but hopefully it'll be a van where we can sort of lie down and rest. And then as soon as we get to the next town, feet up, rest, maybe have a nap, sleep, eat, stretch, and then we'll have 1 or 2 recovery tools, hopefully, that we can use as well.
A pram.
Pram, yeah.
And a beer.
Let me leave the beers out of it. Based on how that beer marathon went for me, beer won't play part in this particular journey.
So any part of this in terms of the different provinces that make you especially nervous? Have you thought that far?
I haven't really thought that far. I mean, I do think that the weather and stuff is going to be an interesting part of the whole thing. I mean, there's a chance that end of June, beginning of July in the Western Cape, that it's really cold and really wet the whole day. I mean, it'd be a bit shitty to run a marathon in pouring down rain the whole time. But again, South African climate is pretty unpredictable. We might get to the Northern Province or Northern Cape or something, and it's super, super hot during the middle of the day. So weather will play a role, but you can only control what you can control. If it's cold and you get wet, the marathon is still there. It's still got to be run. If it's very, very hot, well, drink some more water, put your sunscreen on. The marathon is there and it's got to be run. And I think we can overcome all of those little hurdles and just keep plodding forward.
And the planning around the route accordingly, how did you figure this out? I mean, I've seen a little map that's been drawn by hand on a piece of paper. How did you figure that out?
So we kind of solidified the fact that we wanted to run the last one in Gauteng. So that necessarily meant that we needed to start quite far away if we wanted to sort of make our way back to Gauteng in a way. And if you look at a map of South Africa, there's 2 particular places, or 3 actually, where a few different, 3 different provinces are quite closely clustered together. And there are little towns and places in those little nooks and crannies where you can sort of go from one province to the next quite quickly and quite easily. There are 1 or 2 areas, as I said before, where there's a long drive involved, but mostly you can sort of get them done quite close together. And yeah, that was the reason we did that, because we wanted to finish in Gauteng. Maybe by the time we get to Gauteng, we've got a few people that want to run with us, which would be pretty cool, I thought.
So, I mean, the exact details of the route and exactly where we run and stuff, we haven't truly finalized yet.
Okay.
But what we are relatively certain of is that we don't want to run in the normal places. You know?
Yeah.
We've all run in Joburg, in the main part of Joburg. We've all run down the promenade in Cape Town. It'd be amazing to be able to go to those off the beaten track spots.
So that leads me to my next two questions. I'm going to chunk them together. What do you hope to learn or experience about the country during the journey? Question 1. Question 2, are there plans to engage with local communities along the way? Have you thought about this?
All right. It's the big guns, yeah.
So with Pete, you got a little bit of a history. You're studying at the moment. You have done a bit of work around historical figures in the past, and you know a little bit about history, and it intrigues me a little bit that we could be exploring South Africa not just as a place to go and run and go and see, but to understand in terms of its historical context. So those two questions again: what do you hope to learn or experience about the country during this journey, and are there plans to engage with local communities along the way? May at the moment be no.
I mean, for me, we live a very sheltered lifestyle. We live in a tiny little bubble, all of us in nice suburbs in a nice part of Joburg. And that's not really a good indication of what the rest of the country is like. For me, if I can get out of that little bubble and out of my comfort zone and get to meet and engaged with the gnarly old wrinkled man in the forgotten village on the side of the road, I think that'd be very, very cool.
Isn't Linton driving for you?
Yeah, what the hell? And he doesn't have a mic right now, so he can't actually even say anything. He can't come back with something clever.
Well done, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, historically, yeah. I mean, in doing some research for our route, I've already discovered one or two places that I didn't know existed. I mean, this might be old hat to the listeners, and it definitely is to Wayde, who knew about this town called New Bethesda. But this is an incredibly historical town where a lot of things have happened, and it's actually quite a vibrant little place. And little villages like that are really fascinating in South Africa. You find all different kinds of little mixed up cultures and quaint little coffee shops and bakeries and things like that. And I think that is part of what this journey will bring.
Yes. So the cause behind this, none of this is just for bragging rights. There's a deeper mission here, and you've told me a little bit about it. Tell us about the charity you're supporting and why this cause.
So the charity we're supporting is Trojan's Neurological Trust. It's something that's very, very close to my heart. Some years ago, in my early 20s, I had some significant health issues. I weirdly had a series of strokes, and I had to relearn some basic things like walking, talking, tying shoelaces, that kind of stuff. I was a bit messed up. And during that time, yeah, I mean, I clearly have remnants of that. That's my excuse, right? So
you've got one. Wayde hasn't had a stroke yet.
Yet. Wait for it.
That's 2 strokes every morning. What are you talking about?
This is a PG podcast. What are you doing? Yeah. So during that big comeback, I had help from a lot of different people, some great therapists and so on, none better than those that worked at what's called TNT. And they really got me on the road to just getting back to life again and stuff. Not just the basics, but since then, I've managed to do a lot of cool stuff athletically, which is really cool. And I have a lot to say about them, and I owe them a lot. So I think it's a cool connection to have to help them out.
We actually we met with Justin Jeffrey the other day, and we were talking about what we were going to do and how we wanted to support him and the work that he does. And Pete at some point went to go and ask for the bill at the restaurant or something along those lines. And I said to Justin, I don't know if you know this, but Pete speaks about you a lot and really, really highly. And you changed his life. You saved his life, basically.
Yeah.
And Justin said back to me, I don't know if you understand. The guys that I see and the guys that I treat change and improve my life every single day. And for somebody that is in a position and does the kind of things that he does, to have that sort of attitude is testament to the kind of person that he is.
Yeah. I think it's a side of the experience that we're going to bring through, because Justin Jeffrey is not just a biokineticist or a practitioner out there, but he's often doing these things as well.
That's
we
right,
see him out in the market doing all sorts of activities and adventures. He's a family man. He's a motivator. You know, watching US Van der Vestes and go out onto the rugby field.
Yeah, Justin is with him, man.
That's the type of person. Yeah, it does give me goosebumps when I think about the work that he's done, and he deals with this day in, day out. It is a special cause.
And I mean, just to go off on that again, just you mentioned Joost, Steve, you know, people that Justin works with, and I've worked with these people. I mean, I've been in the same therapy rooms as these people, and you know, a lot of them, I haven't been as lucky as I've been. You know, I'm lucky that I have a lot of support, you know, from family and from friends. You know, as Wayde said, we live very sheltered lives. So, you know, I'm very, very lucky that that I had his support and other support. But, you know, not all of his patients are as lucky as me, you know, and the people he works with need help, a lot of help. And that's what this is, you know, that's hopefully something like this can, if not raise a lot of money, just create some kind of awareness that, you know, these people are out there and they need help and they have potential in the world still.
So talking about that, what are your fundraising goals? Do you have a goal? What are you aiming at? Is there a fundraising goal here?
We were kind of settling on a number or two, and our initial goals is just to allow ourselves to do the event. And there's some stuff that's required, like transport and accommodation and that sort of thing. But from a fundraising point of view for other people, for beneficiaries, we've been throwing around the idea of around about 50,000 Rand, which I think would be pretty cool. We need to understand a little bit better from people like Justin what that would actually allow them to do, which when the going gets really tough, I think will be something that I personally can call on and say, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish this stupid day today, even though I'm really not into it, because of this, because this person cannot walk or cannot run or wants to or whatever, and I can. I may as well just feel privileged to be able to do this rather than feel bad about myself because I have to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So beyond the donations, then, what kind of impact do you hope to make?
I mean, I think, again, I'm just jumping in because Pete's looking a little bit blank here.
Yeah, I take a while to get my thoughts going.
A lot of the stuff is pretty selfish. I mean, we do want to go and do a cool event, and we do want to experience the country, and we want to go through all of that stuff. And there's no amount of saying we're doing it for all sorts of cool altruistic reasons changes the fact that we also want to do cool stuff. But if part of that process means somebody else wants to do something cool, or somebody else comes up with another idea and they want some random guys to come and do it with them, or there's a new challenge or new experience that occurs because of what we're doing now, then I'm all in. That sounds cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we've been chatting about as well, is sort of the long-term impact of what this could be, you know. And for this year, it's 9 marathons in 9 provinces in 9 days. Next year, maybe there's something else. You know, South Africa is an incredibly unique country with lots of different ideas swirling around, and hopefully, you know, maybe in the future we can think of other unique ideas that people haven't done before that can do some good in the world. Yeah,
you know what, we're doing 9 marathons, 9 provinces, 9 days. Lesotho's right there, Swaziland is right there.
Wayde always does this. He always does this.
Namibia, just keep going.
So taking that point, big journeys come with personal transformation. What are you hoping to discover about yourselves through this? Number one, I've got a couple of questions because I think they're going to batch together with the same thought process you had. What would a successful journey look like for each of you beyond just finishing? Because I know you guys can finish something like this. And is there already a next thing in your mind? You just mentioned Lesotho, Swaziland. Or are you just focusing on one foot in front of the other right now?
Right.
And you don't have to agree.
Okay, we're not going to agree. I'm just going to jump in straight away. And I'm really, like, I know you said beyond finishing, Steve. Like, at the moment, I'm really just hoping to get through all the 9 days. It's an incredible challenge. It's, for me at least, it's if you break it down a little bit, it's four comrades in 9 days. And I've done a few comrades, and after one, you know, for a week, I'm barely walking. So to do that kind of distance in 9 days is going to be a tough one. I'd love to, just to finish, I'd be really happy with that. And if we can create some kind of awareness for TNT along the way, that'd be great as well. money would be another greatness on top of that, so that they can actually do something for someone, for an actual person that Justin is treating.
And so I'm going to throw this back at you, Pete.
Yep.
This as a personal transformation for yourself. You go through these, you've already spoken about your personal journey, but coming out of this, what do you expect Pete to be after this?
Skinnier.
Yeah, that is one of the goals, guys. If you know me, you know that I enjoy eating a block of chocolate or two at times, and I tend to binge eat quite heavily. So that if people say you can't out-train a bad diet, well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna try. We're gonna keep trying. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I mean, I guess all our lives are just a series of personal journeys, and there's we'd like to think of things in terms of a destination. But there is no real destination, and it's cliche to say, it's about the journey and so on, but it is, it can be a series of short journeys, and then once that journey is over, there's another short one to take, or a long one, but there's no real destination, and I think maybe, how is this going to change us personally, or me personally? That's actually a good question, and I think the only way we'll know that is to do it. So I'm quite excited to see what happens, how much, what changes in our life. Maybe nothing, I don't know.
So I'm gonna throw in the mix that my understanding of you two is quite a stoic view on the world. You look at things as they are, and you take them on, and you're willing to roll with it or stand your ground and carry on with it. And I think you've given that there as well in your answer. You're going to see what happens. You're going to take it one step at a time. That's coming through as a common thing. Wayde, your side. What do you look for out of this? What's captured at the back of your imagination about doing something like this that you think you're going to gain from?
I think I've just basically become complacent over the last while. As we said, we live in a comfortable area, comfortable little bubble. And I think I've probably moved away from my adventurous, risk-taking self that I was 20 or 30 years ago. And I've become a lot more comfortable in just being comfortable. And I really want to get out of that. So, and I want to start doing stuff that challenges me physically and mentally and emotionally again. And if I can rekindle that spirit a little bit, I will be extremely happy with the whole process.
And taking that story, the last story I know of that you took on as a bit of an adventure, I want you to give us the explanation of this. You spoke about your beer run. Now, you're not big drinkers, you're not alcoholics, you don't do it for the reason of drinking. But Pete, Wayde, give us a little rundown of the last journey of what happened, how you handled it, who came up with it, how you got the entry. Let's go.
It certainly wasn't the last thing. I mean, we have done
it's the
many.
last one I remember.
The last one you remember.
Yeah,
it probably says more about your short-term memory than
probably. Selective.
I actually remember exactly where you were. Do you remember?
I think so.
At the campus.
Yeah, campus coffee. Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. We were sitting there, I think, on a Thursday, lunchtime, drinking coffee, as always.
Wasn't it the day before? Wasn't it the Friday?
But the race is on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So we decided on the Thursday, we drove on the Saturday, I think. Anyway, it was either a day or 2 days before.
Yeah.
We thought, well, we don't really have a lot to do.
Yeah.
What was this?
Kaapse Hoop Marathon.
Which is, for the people who don't know what a marathon is?
So it's 42.2 or 42.195 kilometers, if you want to get really specific about it. It's quite a well-known, quite a high-profile marathon, but not generally regarded as a really tough one. So the first little bit is a little bit more climbing, and then there's a whole bunch of slightly easier running, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's like net downhill, Nelspruit, Mbombela.
Yeah. So we decided we're going to go and do this thing, but because neither of us have really been running a lot, it would be crazy to try and, who would do such a stupid thing as to go and just randomly run a marathon and to try and run it fast. So.
And Pete had been in recovery for 6 months.
From?
Yeah, I was carrying an injury and so on, obviously, as per usual. But
is there any moment you haven't been carrying an injury?
Yeah, it's the story of my life. That's, yeah.
So we thought we'd go and do this thing, but we would try and put a bit of a spin on it. My daughter was still very small at that point, and I had a jogging pram. And we thought beer miles are for beginners, 400 meters, drink a beer, waste of time. So we thought we'd do a beer marathon instead. So the idea was born that we would be the last 2 people to cross the start line at the Kaapse Hoop Marathon, which we were, with my daughter's jogging pram and a cool box and a whole bunch of beer. And as we crossed the start line, in last place, the 2 of us, we stopped, having run 1 meter, and opened the cool box and downed a beer each, put our empties back in the cool box and ran again. And then we'd had another one at 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and at the finish.
And Pete, how did that go for you?
Yeah, listen, I'm not a drinker, and I mean, if I am a drinker, I do pink drinks. Really, if I'm honest, I'm just gonna let out. I do pink drinks. I love sweet stuff, so I'll do a pink drink. So beer, I don't drink beer. I just don't. It was very rough, Steve. I really thought I was gonna die. I posted a couple of pics on Instagram and just recently, and like the first couple of pics are like my smile is still quite authentic, you can see that everything's fine, but then that smile gradually fades, and by the end the grimace is pretty real. It was very hot. I mean, Wayde, it was like 30 degrees, huh?
At least. Might have even been 60. It was hot.
The longer I lived, the hotter it got, right?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, it was really hot. I really struggled.
He did struggle, I can tell you that. I've seen people vomit a lot in my life, but I've never seen anybody vomit as many times as I've seen Pete vomit. And that day was the most.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't hold stuff in when he's just running normally. When he's just downed a beer and then another beer and another beer, there's no holding anything in.
It was...
Alcohol, food, swear words, it all just comes out and left on the side of the road.
It was very unpleasant. It was, yeah, I mean, I felt pretty shit for a lot of times in my life, like think back, this is it now. But that was one of the times, literally, without exaggerating, that I thought this might be it. I was so dehydrated, so tired, so broken. But I mean, look, we got to the end.
And it was very, very funny for me.
Yeah, well, you can see in all the photos that, I'm grimacing and so on, and Wade's smile stays the same from start to finish. And he did offer to take me to the hospital and so on. He was, concerned deep inside, but on the outside, it was pretty funny for him. Yeah. So, but it was pretty epic and also like quite unique. I don't know that many people have done a beer marathon, which is kind of a cool thing.
And your friendship survived through all of this.
Somehow. Listen, there was a moment where I wasn't sure, and that moment was when we got to Mbombela and we discovered the accommodation that we hadn't organized. It was like a big dormitory kind of thing, and I don't know, it was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Everybody else was really fast asleep. There's a whole bunch of people there, and there's one bed.
Single bed.
One single bed.
For two of us, yeah.
And Pete looks at me and I look at him and, oh, shit, this is not going to be... One of us is sleeping on the floor. That's happening.
You wanted to do head to tail. I'm sure you wanted to.
Whatever.
You wanted to get little 69 going, yeah?
Jesus.
Little spoon, big spoon.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought it might not survive.
I think it could work quite well. Little spoon, big spoon. We already can see her.
That was rough.
But I mean, it was one of those things, Steve, where you look back and you're like, that was epic. The goal was to do something cool and adventurous and fun and exciting and stuff that you talk about for a long time afterwards. And that was certainly it. And I'm pretty confident that our next little adventure will be similar, if not better.
Yeah. So, closing, my final thoughts. I've got 2 questions for you, and then I'm going to wrap it up. What would you say to someone who's sitting with a big, bold dream, but afraid to start?
Just do it. I mean, if you don't try, you're never going to know. I tell my daughter this all the time. Just jump in. What's the worst thing that can possibly happen? You're going to have to make so many, many terrible mistakes and have so much bad luck in your life to end up on the side of the road begging for money. Take a chance. Just go. Try.
Yeah, agree. I mean, I would say, I'm not going to say don't be scared, because that's silly. Be scared. Be okay to fail. It's nothing crazy is really getting, unless you're living sort of in the middle of a war zone. Failure is not going to be fatal and final. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to fail, I would say. So ergo, just do it. Just go get it. Yeah. I think we're giving Nike a lot of airtime here. I hope they give us some shoes or something. But yeah.
Final question for you guys. Where can people follow your journey? Social media, website, donation links, anything like that thought of yet?
Yeah, we've just gotten the socials going again. Our handle is Team9, but it's spelled the word team and then N-I and then the number 9 and then N-E, so Team9. But if that's too difficult to remember, you can follow me. I am at Peter17S and Wayde is at Wayde Kennedy. one word. Is that right, Wade? Yeah.
Pretty sure it's Wayde.Kennedy.
Is
But
it
anyway,
Kennedy?
doesn't matter. They
Okay,
can
might-
follow you.
Yeah, if you just search Wayde Kennedy or Peter Swanepoel, you'll find us on socials. Yeah,
And I'll tag you on this post anyway.
great, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say?
All good, hey?
All good.
Thank you, Steve.
All good, excited. Yeah, thank you for organising, Steve. Great to chat.
Well,
Appreciate the opportunity.
There you have it. 2 men, 9 provinces, and a whole lot of purpose. Wade and Peter, thank you for sharing your story before the first step has even been taken. We'll be watching, cheering, and maybe even limping in sympathy. Wishing you courage, calm, and just enough carbs. Until the next time, thanks for tuning in. Done.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Johan.
Done. Thank you, everybody. Very cool. I hope that was more or less what you. Yeah,
Very
I was
cool.
umming and eyeing a lot. So didn't know what the hell to say. Some good questions, Brie. Put us on the spot. Cut out all that bad stuff.
Pretty weird.
Yeah, I wanna show you what Johan does because it's flipping amazing. We'll sit and talk for an hour and a half, and a 20-minute segment comes out,
Yeah.
and all the dead periods are cut, so the conversation flows.
Okay. Nice.
And you are both good with your answers. Even the times are quite good because you go, which on a soundbite sounds like thinking.
Yeah, it wasn't,
Yeah, I thought that went
and it's just
really well.
sniffing because I've got snot.
He was
It's quite
enjoying
tricky
it.
also
Yeah,
to kind of know. There's some questions where you know he's going to answer,
yeah.
and there's some where you're not really